Yugi reaction is a multi-component reaction in which amine, aldehyde or ketone, carboxylic acid and isocyanide react to form a large molecule called Yugi adduct, which may have medicinal properties. That is why this is an important reaction for preparing drug molecules in medicinal chemistry. For my Yugi reaction, I chose para-nitroaniline, acetone, cinnamic acid and para-toluene isocyanide that I prepared in my last video, and methanol is used as a solvent. To start things off, in a 50 milliliters round bottom flask, I added 0.36 grams of para-nitroaniline, and it was dissolved in 12 milliliters of methanol. Then to it, I added 0.5 milliliters acetone, which is in excess, as it is volatile and can be removed by distillation. Then 0.39 grams of cinnamic acid was weighed and added in the flask with the help of a powder funnel. Then I added half of the prepared isocyanide, as I don't know the exact concentration of isocyanide in it, as it is impure. Therefore, I added it in excess by assumption, as we can remove it by hexane, as it is very nonpolar. Then I added a pear-shaped bead into the flask, stoppered, and allowed it to stir at room temperature. I checked the TLC after 6 hours at night, and still p-nitroaniline was left in the reaction mixture. A new spot is formed, which means our reaction is going well. I opened the flask, and it still had smell of isocyanate. P-nitroaniline was the limiting agent, so it should have been consumed on completion of reaction. I left it stirring overnight, and the next morning I saw the flask broke due to the stirrer, and all the reaction mixture fell off. I again performed the same reaction in another flask, and stirred it with my stirrer of heating mantle. Without heating, I checked the TLC after 12 hours. Still reaction wasn't complete, so I decided to do a workup. First, I distilled off the methanol on a water bath. After some time, methanol stopped distilling, and a liquid remained in the flask. I removed the adapter and left the flask open in the warm water bath. After few hours, everything solidified, and excess solvent evaporated. Then I added some distilled petroleum ether and broke the solid chunk with a spatula into small pieces and tried to stir it nicely with the petroleum ether. PET ether is very nonpolar and will dissolve the nonpolar isocyanide. Then to crush the pieces further, I used the flattened end of a glass rod. The Yugi adducts are polar and will not dissolve in nonpolar solvents like hexane or PET ether. Then the PET ether was decanted off. I then washed the residue 2 times with small amount of hexane and transferred the hexanes into the same container containing waste PET ether. Then the residue was dissolved in ethyl acetate mixed with the glass rod, and then washed the glass rod with small amount of ethyl acetate. This solution was transferred to a separatory funnel. The flask was washed with small amount of ethyl acetate. Then to remove the amine, we will wash it with dilute hydrochloric acid. For that I took 6 molar hydrochloric acid and diluted it to 3 times and washed the ethyl acetate 2 times. Each time I capped, shaked, vented and drained off the lower layer. Para-nitroaniline will form salt with HCl, which is soluble in aqueous layer. Then the ethyl acetate layer is washed with saturated sodium bicarbonate solution to remove acid. The cinnamic acid will form sodium salt with sodium bicarbonate and will be removed in aqueous layer. The funnel is capped, shaked and vented. Pressure is built up as the carbon dioxide is formed. This process is also done 2 times. Then the ethyl acetate layer is washed with saturated sodium chloride solution to pull out excess water. Then the ethyl acetate layer is transferred to a beaker, and the separatory funnel is washed with a small amount of ethyl acetate. To the ethyl acetate layer, some anhydrous sodium sulfate is added to dry it. Then the ethyl acetate is decanted off in a round bottom flask. The separatory funnel, the beaker and sodium sulfate is washed with ethyl acetate, and the ethyl acetate is transferred into the round bottom flask. It is then distilled off on a water bath. I have a receiving adapter, but my 50 milliliters flask is broken, and I do not have any other small flask, so I am distilling the ethyl acetate in this way. When no more ethyl acetate came over, I left to dry. After few hours, some solid is left, which could be purified by column chromatography. But it is not possible for me, and I will recrystallize from methanol. For that I will add methanol to it just to dissolve. I heated in a warm water bath to dissolve everything completely and transferred the solution into a vial. The methanol will evaporate slowly, and crystals of Yugi adduct will be formed. The RB and the dropper was washed with small amount of methanol and then transferred to vial. The next day crystals have formed, and the methanol is decanted off. This is the prepared Yugi adduct, but the yield seems very low.